Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show. Holy cow, what a day. Beautiful. It's a winter wonderland. Yesterday was Thursday, so Wednesday it was 43 degrees here on top of the world down in Homer, and we had green grass coming up and everything else. This morning there's 14 inches of snow outside the house right now, easily 14. I mean, it just won't stop. Anyway, and last night it was the power kept bumping off. So if I go away for a minute, don't panic. I'll be back in a minute. All the battery backups are running, but there might be a slight interruption this morning. So don't be worried if for some reason we leave for a moment and then come back, because it's been an interesting night. Let's put it that way. Especially for my CPAP, which I don't have a battery backup on. I probably should have put a battery backup on my CPAP. Be like, I'm just, oh, okay, I can go back to sleep now. It's just crazy. Anyway, today is Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature here on the Michael Dukes Show. And I gotta tell you, it's kind of crazy. And not only is the Kenai Peninsula suffering, there's a winter storm warning up in Fairbanks for the Fairbanks North Star Borough. You could get up to an additional 5 inches of snow today until about it's going to be snowing till, they say, apparently about 9 p.m. tonight. And travel could be difficult, it says, with snowfall lingering through the afternoon before ending this evening. Also, a winter weather advisory in the interior for the White Mountains and high terrain south of the Yukon River, same kind of thing. And then finally down here on the KPB, the Kenai Peninsula Borough, they say an additional 3 inches of snow. Well, I mean, what's 3 inches when you've got 2 feet already? The greater Ketchimack Bay area is affected until 9 a.m. this morning. And the highest accumulations, of course, are expected in the inland areas north of Homer, including the Bluffs and Diamond Ridge. So right here in the old backyard, so to speak. But yeah, winter weather advisory is going on across the state. The North Slope has got blizzards, like 45 and 60 mile an hour winds and blizzards everywhere. So definitely a whole different deal going on right now. The last few days have been, kind of nice and calm, and now it's going to be a white Christmas. I think that's pretty much the end of that. You're going to see a white Christmas going on now. All right. Well, what are we going to cover today on the program? Well, obviously, Firearms Friday is the day that we I'm sorry. Oh, 2-hour delay. Thank you so much, Dave. 2-hour delay for Kenai Peninsula Borough School south of Ninilchik. So that even the school buses are delayed down here this morning. So definitely a Definitely a snowy, slow morning. My son is going to hate it. He got up yesterday and he shoveled everything off so nice and neat. And I went out there this morning and the dog looked at me and was like, "What? You expect me to go? It's over my belly. What do you want me to do?" So the poor boy's going to be out there shoveling again today. Anyway, what are we going to do today? Firearms Friday means we're going to be talking about issues related to guns and the Second Amendment. And we have got a whole slew of discussions. I've also opened up the phone line for what I like to call gun Q&A, which is gun questions and answers, because I firmly believe that what this country needs is sorry, I just had Jack Nicholson in my head going, "This town needs an enema." What this country needs is a real education on the truth about guns. Instead of hyperbole and a lot of misinformation, we need to answer questions in a straightforward way. And you're not getting that from, the entertainment industry, from the news media. None of those people are giving you the information that you really need in an honest way. And that's where Firearms Friday came in. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to sit down and talk about it. We got a lot of news stories out there. And in fact, I think this is a perfect opportunity. How much time do I got here? I think I've got enough time to talk about this story from over on Instapundit. Now, you probably heard of Instapundit, Glenn Reynolds. He is he's one of the original OG internet voices. He's been around for a long time. When he links a page or when he links a story, thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of readers are exposed to that story. But he does more than just, link stories and send traffic. He's a law professor from the University of Tennessee College of Law. He's also a columnist for USA Today. And he really recently posted something on his Substack, which wasn't necessarily about guns, but it was why things seem to be shifting politically in this country. Tom Knighton over at Bearing Arms wrote a piece that analyzed this Instapundit post. And I thought this was really, it was really eye-opening in many ways. This is what Glenn Reynolds, the Instapundit, wrote. He said, in regards to the political climate in America, he said, "What happened? It's like a spell broke. Since November's election of President Donald Trump, the woke is going away, and all sorts of problems are resolving themselves. But why? There are several reasons, but basically, it's a preference cascade. In law, we talk about the proverbial 13th chime of the clock, which is not only wrong in and of itself, but which calls into question everything that has come before. Most of our institutions have been chiming 13 for quite a while, and people have noticed. But it's not enough to notice. Soviet citizens knew their system was founded on lies too, but the system kept them isolated, unaware that so many of their fellow citizens felt the same way and unable to come together to act. This technique used by totalitarians of all sorts is called preference falsification, in which people are forced to profess beliefs in things they know not to be true. If the powers that be are good at it, virtually every citizen can hate them and want them out, but no one will do anything because every citizen who feels that way thinks they're the only one or one of only a tiny number." Tom Knighton takes that a step further over at Bearing Arms and goes on to talk about how this is why the stigmatization of gun ownership has been such a huge deal. And we've talked about it on the program. Again, the entertainment industry, making, people who own guns look like they're crazy, or wackadoos, or men who are trying to substitute their maleness for the firearm, or, whatever it is that you see in your nightly television, telenovelas and the movies and everything else. Their effort is to push us all into a corner or into the closet so that we can feel like we alone believe that we have the right to keep and bear arms, that we don't want to say, that we could be attacked, or that we feel, again, kind of isolated on those things. When you isolate people, they often shift their politics to conform to the overall groupthink, the group mentality, right? You don't want to say anything and stick your head up above the crowd because you feel like you're the only one. And they do that all the time. All they need to do is for you to be forced to pretend that you're not pro-gun. That's all they need to do. Tom goes on to say, oh, no one is doing that, you might argue, but they are. We've seen a student suspended from school for pictures of them at a gun range outside of school hours. We've seen people argue that we oppose gun control because we feel it threatens our masculinity. There's a long-running narrative that we oppose gun control because we're supposedly racist because we're afraid of black people. Right? We've heard all of these arguments and all of these stories before. And this all has to do with preference falsification. It's groupthink. It's peer pressure. When no one will say that they're pro-gun, everyone might as well be anti-gun. I mean, they could say what they want to indoctrinate the masses all they want, and we're forced to sit there and shut up. Now, not all of us do that. Obviously, with this program, I'm obviously not doing that. But a lot of us do, especially, in our place of work or in our sphere of influence or whatever. We don't want to voice our opinions because we feel like, oh, we might be the only ones. Look, I would argue, based on the reaction and the results of the November election, that there are a lot more people out there that probably believe a lot of the same things that you believe. And that we need to be, we don't need to be obnoxious about our belief, our values, our trust in the Second Amendment. We don't need to be obnoxious about it, but we don't need to hide our light under a bushel either. Because again, they're already doing the work out there for the anti-gunners, between the news media, the talking heads, the entertainment industry, the politicians, and everything else. They're already doing all that work out there. We don't need to, we don't need to help them. We don't need to give in to this preference falsification that Glenn Reynolds over at the Instapundit is talking about. So again, I'm not advocating that you go out there and beat your chest from the rooftops and be obnoxious about it. But if somebody asks, you answer. All it takes for the tyranny of evil to rule is for good men and women to do nothing. See something, say something. However you want to do it. If you want to go back to first they came for the Jews kind of thing and work your way down the list, whatever it was, it took people standing up and saying, hey, you know what? There's more of us here than we thought. We don't have to take that. And I think the November elections have proved that there's a whole different change in what's going on. I truly believe. But this preference falsification, this is kind of a brilliant thing when you look at it, especially in light of what was happening, as he points out, in Soviet Russia, when the citizens knew it was all lies, but they just all thought they were alone and they didn't want to say anything because they thought somebody would report them. Turns out everybody was feeling that way. Except for the Politburo and all the apparatchiks in the government who were, living off the largesse. But all the common people, they were like, whoa, wait a minute. You mean we all feel this way? That's just nutty. So don't be afraid. Again, don't be obnoxious. We're here to win hearts and minds, not to offend people. We don't want to freak the straight people out, right? That's why Firearms Friday is here, to answer questions about firearms in a non-judgmental, non-demeaning, non-condescending way. I'm hoping that somebody out there may be listening that's, gun curious, not pro-gun, not anti-gun. Or maybe you're secretly pro-gun. Maybe you've fallen victim to this preference falsification, and you are secretly pro-gun. You just don't want anybody to know. There are others. Welcome to your tribe, my brother or sister. Welcome to your tribe. We're here. Anyway, I think that's a good start to Firearms Friday for today. We've opened the phone lines 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. Again, down on the Kenai, school buses for the KPB school district running 2 hours late. Oh man. 2 hours late today. Lots of snow, lots of white stuff. We're going to continue the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. All righty then. How you guys doing? How you guys doing this morning? At least you have power, MD. Bill must not have any power. Chris says 1/4 of an inch in Kenai. Oh, man. No, I went out yesterday morning. The night before, it was, dry, bone dry out on the porch, and everything else, the green, you could see the green through the grass. There was still patchy snow everywhere. Yesterday morning, there was, I don't know, 1.5 inches or something on the porch. It just kept coming down. It just kept coming down at that point. I would go out this morning, and on the back porch, there's this much snow on top of the railing, and it's just like, wow, it's crazy. Okay. We got 3 inches in Soldovia, says Chris. Chris Byers up in Fairbanks says the snow is so deep. How much did you how much snow did you guys get? Because I know you were supposed to get like 5 to 7 inches, and you're supposed to get up to another 5 inches today. But wow. Yeah, Bill says power is out in his area. Let me go over here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Terry says she's never been known to keep her mouth shut. Yeah, I mean, there's some of us who we say what we think and we believe, but, there are a few, especially depending on where you work and, your sphere of influence or your church, you don't want to say anything to offend anybody. Anthony says, I like to get into an anti-gun conversation with liberals and agree with them while I'm open carrying my Stocko 9mm double stack and a retention holder with 3 mags on the other side of my belt, and watch the 2 brain cells they have fight each other, figure out where reality is. I just feel like that's mean, Anthony. I just feel like that's mean. Yeah, Brian reminds me of that cartoon where the politician is standing on the board hanging over the cliff. He's talking to all the people like, I have the power kind of thing. And the board is being counterbalanced by a group of people on the other side. And he's hanging over the cliff, Yeah, I remember here. 0 snow in the Hook. 0 snow in the Hook. Well, it's okay. I mean, it is, what is it, 31 degrees? 31 degrees, something right now? Yeah, 29. It dropped down. 29 degrees. So at least it'll be freezing here. We got to get a little bit of a base. Mike was trying to plow last night, and it was so soft because it's been so warm for the last 5 or 6 days. Got to let the ground harden up before we get a good base on for the scraping. But man, so much snow. Crazy stuff. All right. What else, you guys? Did I catch everything? Mike King says he's got a foot of snow in Salcha. 20 degrees and fairly clear out on KGB, where Rick is out on in the old stomping grounds there. Anthony said, "It's Firearms Friday. My first question is, what weapons platform will get me out of my snow-buried driveway today and put my truck out of its misery?" I mean, you could go to the old, what was the old Brian, what was the old project where they used atomic weapons for construction, or they were trying to dig out the harbor? I mean, we could use the proper weapons that would definitely get you out of your snow-buried driveway and put your truck out of its misery. Of course, you probably wouldn't survive either, but I mean, hey, there wouldn't be any snow. There wouldn't be any snow. There you go. Terry says she needs to mow her grass. Okay. All right. Debbie says the Fairbanks North Starborough School District, I believe, closed due to high number of unexpected bus driver callouts. Just saw a city bus go by my house. Maybe they should hire those drivers. All right. Well, I'll double check that. Thank you, Debbie, for letting me know that. I'll confirm it and see if we'll see if there's possibility. Here we go. Jumping back into it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Let's do this thing.
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Yeah. Hi, how are ya? Welcome back to Firearms Friday. Apparently there's plenty of stuff to go around. Looks like schools are going to be closed today in the Fairbanks North Star Borough. This just somebody mentioned it to me in the chat room, and I just went out and looked, and they've made a Facebook post. Schools will be closed today, Friday, December 13th. It's Friday the 13th. And after-school activities canceled due to transportation challenges. Durham Transportation, the bus company, has informed us that due to a high number of unexpected driver call-outs, they're unable to provide adequate and safe bus coverage for all routes. So they are they're out there. No school today in the Fairbanks North Star Borough. And a 2-hour delay for KPB school district south of Ninilchik. So welcome to Alaska. It's a tough time out there. It is a tough time out there. All right. Where did we want to go? Where did we want to go? I got a bunch of different stories to get into. Maybe we could start off with the good news. The good news for the NRA. The NRA has been in a world-resounding battle with Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York. Her goal, obviously, was, well, first of all, it was political, no doubt about it. She'd like to kill the gun rights movement. And in her mind, the best way to kill the gun rights movement is to destroy the NRA. And to a degree, she probably was right. The NRA has been so distracted with the legal wranglings and the battles that they probably haven't been doing as good a job as they could. And the organization itself has suffered, kind of a mighty blow. They've lost the faith of a lot of their supporters. A lot of people who for years have given them money and been stalwart defenders of not only the Second Amendment, but the NRA itself. But the good news is it's over. It's over. Here's the press release from yesterday morning. The National Rifle Association of America today announced the successful conclusion of a multi-year legal battle with New York Attorney General Letitia James. In August of 2020, James sued to dissolve the association and seize its assets following a campaign trail promise to target the association, its banks, and its donors. After the NRAs defeated the New York Attorney General's corporate death penalty claim, that's in quotes, corporate death penalty claim, James sought a court-appointed monitor to oversee the gun group. The court rejected that request this summer. In the end, Justice Joel Cohen denied all invasive release sought by the government, Letitia James. Instead, the court's order is tailored to compliance and governance measures in the NRA's interest, many proposed by the NRA itself, and several of which were already underway inside the NRA. The NRA pays no fines or penalties under today's judgment. Instead, the judgment entitles the NRA to collect millions of dollars from former executives found to have breached their duties. Oh, Wayne LaPierre, you are in serious, serious trouble. The New York AG, said Bob Barr, the president of the NRA, the New York AG sought to shut us down and then appointed outsiders to oversee management of this historic organization. Fortunately for freedom lovers everywhere, this politically motivated attempt failed. This is the ultimate stand at our moment of truth, defeating an unprecedented attack from the highest levels of New York government. The NRA remains strong, safe, and independent, continuing to protect freedoms, unquote. Today's judgment caps a 6-year saga during which the NRA withstood not only the New York AG's lawsuit, but a barrage of other blue state regulatory actions, sweeping congressional inquiries, and a debanking effort by New York officials that became subject of a blockbuster Supreme Court decision in June. In that case, the NRA versus Vullo, a 9 justices backed the association's First Amendment claims, and the ACLU stood shoulder to shoulder with the NRA against New York. NRA CEO and Executive Vice President Doug Hamlin said the last 6 years have been difficult for NRA members, staff, and supporters. With Judge Cohen's ruling, we can now put this challenging chapter in history behind us and focus solely on the business of the members and all law-abiding gun owners. The NRA is committed to transparency, compliance, and good governance, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's the press release from the NRA, which, I mean, again, fantastic news. I mean, the best news of all, of course, is that the organization doesn't have to pay any fines, pays no fines or penalties. Instead, the judgment entitles them to collect millions of dollars from former executives found to be in breach of their duty. People like, again, Wayne LaPierre. That is going to be, now, how are they going to be able to collect some of the monies that were given to these big anti-gun law firms that LaPierre was roped in with or anything? I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But this is good news because now the NRA, instead of being fractured and trying to fight off all comers and being under siege, can now get back to the work of defending the Second Amendment. Now, does that mean that we're all, that's all is forgiven and we're all kumbaya with the NRA? No, I mean, I'm happy. I'm very glad that they have come out the other side of this. And I'm happy to see that they're going to be able to get back to the job of defending the Second Amendment instead of having to focus time and money and effort on defending themselves. But they've made some serious missteps. Not just in allowing Wayne LaPierre to reside at the top of the pyramid for as long as he did and create as many problems as he did and to basically wound the organization so badly. But even after the ouster and even after the changes and even as reforms were being made, they still have made misstep after misstep. I mean, the most recent one, of course, was this endorsement of Mary Peltola. Now, the people will argue, well, that's the ILA or the Political Victory Fund or one other arm, some other arm of it. It's still the NRA. It's just not the main NRA. It's the ILA or the Political Victory. You know, it's the NRA, folks. When they say NRA endorsed or NRA graded or whatever, they don't say the NRA ILA or the NRA PVP or whatever, you know, PVF or whatever the political. It's the NRA. I mean, there is still some stinking thinking going on over at the NRA. when they can look at at a race like what we have today or what we just had, and they can look at Mary Peltola and go, oh yeah, that seems like a good pick. Especially when I know that several people here in this state who are very well acquainted with the NRA, who have hosted and organized Friends of NRA dinners for years, have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the NRA over the course of 2 decades. And they call and say, what are you guys doing? And they get put off and they get poo-pooed like, well, that way, that's not a good look. Okay. So while I'm excruciatingly happy and ecstatic that the NRA is now done with their court case, and that they've actually come out ahead and might be able to collect some of the monies back that they have lost, or that's great. But you guys got a long road to coming back to reestablish the trust, I think, of the average gun owner. I really do. I think you've got a ways to go, because again, people, you abuse them, or you fool them, or you pull the wool over their eyes, or you could only bamboozle them once or twice. And then they're like, the trust is gone. And again, people were complaining about what was going on. Jeff Knox has been, his dad, Neil Knox, was talking about how problematic LaPierre was back in the 80s, right? And he wasn't even executive vice president yet. But Jeff Knox has been talking about the rot within the NRA for 20 years. So it wasn't like there weren't people who were warning what was going on. So it's going to take a little bit of time, and we're going to have to see how this all plays out for the NRA as a whole. But it is definitely we're still in the good news tech category. Now we're in what are the sports metaphors? We're in the rebuilding phase, right? We tore the team down, and now we're in the rebuilding phase. That's what just happened. They had the best possible outcome that they could get, and now they're in the rebuilding phase for the NRA. And let's hope that they've learned some lessons. Cautiously optimistic, probably, but we'll see what happens. But the NRA now out from under that big lawsuit, and actually winning it. I mean, that's the best part, is that they didn't just, it's finally over and they've got to take their lumps. It's over, and they are going to get some money back and everything else. It is definitely a good thing to see. All right. Phone lines are open right now. If you want to call in for gun Q&A all day today, you can feel free to do so. Number is 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. Remember, with gun Q&A, there's no such thing as a dumb gun question. We could have answered that question a million times before, and it doesn't matter. We'll answer it one more time, because, again, our goal is to demystify the firearm, to educate the average person who may or may not be pro-gun, or maybe they're secretly pro-gun. I'm happy to talk with those folks as well. Feel free to give us a ring. We got more coming up. Up next, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? I guess we could talk about the good news, bad news from the Supreme Court this week. Maybe we'll do that. All right, we got to go. We'll be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. It's Firearms Friday.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Let's see here what you guys are saying. Let's see what you're saying. Let's see what you guys are saying. Going back here a little bit. Yeah. Got a foot more snow in Fairbanks for the last 2 days. Project Plowshare, that's what it was called, where they were using, was it Amchitka or wherever that they were using it to see they dug a harbor with a nuclear weapon. Let's just see what happens. We're going to dredge some stuff here with a small nuke. Let's see what happens. Oh man. The problem with says Anthony, my problem with is that any anti-gun philosophy comes from a place of false reality. If you tell me that firearms should all be gone, by contrast, you're assuming that violence criminality is not a thing and that no person should ever need to defend themselves or others because of such. It's pure madness. He's not wrong. Again, the whole philosophy behind the anti-gun philosophy is, well, if we just got rid of guns, all of our problems would be solved. Unfortunately, history paints a different picture. History paints a different picture. Oh, Joy, says Jeannie, Wayne has to give up some of his temporal pleasures. Yeah. They might be able to collect some money from the state of New York. I don't know. There may have to be a countersuit for litigation costs and everything else. That'll be a big question. Jeannie asks, will the NRA still defend DEI? I don't know. She also said the endorsement of Mary Peltola was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think for a lot of people it was. Especially when the reaction that came back down after people started reaching out, because I know people specifically who have got lots of contact with the NRA, like I said, who've been part of it. And they were not happy with the response from the NRA. Definitely not happy with the response. Yeah, rebuilding season. It's a rebuilding season. Thank you, Chris. I'm not sports, I'm not a sports guy, so they didn't get into it. They didn't get into this mess overnight, says Brian. It's going to take them probably a decade of principled leadership to recover. I feel that's probably true. Probably true as well. Blue Anon is in the room. Welcome, Blue Anon. I hope you enjoy the discussion today. James is claiming that the state of New York won the suit. How do they claim that when there was no fines, no fees? In fact, they're going after LaPierre. She was denied at every turn. She wanted to have a court appointed and they said no. She wanted to dissolve them. They said no. How is that a win? I mean, how is that a win? You want to, Brian's asking, you want to express your thoughts on carry insurance like USCCA or lawyers of retainer or? Sure. I mean, we could talk about that. David Nelson says the Vikings had no guns. How peaceful were they? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Miguel Ramirez says, all my family canceled their memberships and I did, and myself did when the NRA endorsed Peltola, along with everyone else I know. Yeah. I mean, it was a red flag from the get-go. There was no doubt about it. Harold makes a good point. 100% of atrocities, well, not 100%, but 100% of the large genocidal atrocities are all committed by governments against unarmed citizens. Yeah. I mean, the Uyghurs, the Coptic Christians, the Ottoman Empire, the Jews. I mean, we could just keep going. The Kurds, we could just keep going down and down and down the list. 100% of atrocities, Pol Pot, you could just go down the list of the major atrocities in this world, and they were committed by governments against unarmed citizens. So yeah, that's some of the things. Good morning. Okay. We're still talking about Plowshare. Brian says there were a bunch of smaller experiments designed to cause cratering with nuclear weapons. Sudan was the largest. They took some of the souls from Sudan crater to a site near Point Hope. Interesting. I'd like to talk more about that. That would be an interesting discussion. All right, but we got to get back into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. Let's get to it. Here we go.
What the hell is an assault weapon? Does that mean that if we hurt your feelings, you should consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can accept that. Here's Michael Dukes. Kind of a dick, but somewhat funny.
He is so mean to me. I don't know what I ever did to him. All right, we got to continue here. Hour one of Firearms Friday continues. A lot of people in the chat room are waiting for Fred. Fred's in Rhode Island, not New Jersey, you guys. Fred, they all talking about the drones. Has Fred been shooting down the drones because of this big drone thing in New Jersey? Have you been following this? I don't even know what's going on over there. But everybody's thinking Fred should call in and talk about how he's shooting down all the drones over there. But he's in Rhode Island, not New Jersey, guys. Okay, so just cool yourself there. A couple different stories that we have available, but Brian asked a question in the chat room, and that question was if I wanted to express my thoughts on carry insurance, USCCA or lawyers or retainer or. I think carry insurance is a valid idea, especially if you have a lot to lose, if you have a pretty substantial net worth, and you're forced to defend yourself, even if it's 100% legitimately righteous shoot, you could still be faced with civil court. On something like that, and it definitely is a challenge. They say insurance is, in the long run, insurance can be cheap, and we know that's true. Now, that being said, I've never had carry insurance. I have considered it. Many times, but I've just never gotten around to putting it together and doing it. But I definitely have considered it. And if you are worried about it and you've got something to lose, then yeah, definitely. They definitely should be. You definitely should be looking into it. And USCCA, I think, is one of the more prominent companies. I mean, ever since the NRA came apart and they lost Carry Guard, I don't know of any other major insurer for Second Amendment insurance. Maybe somebody out there has been using one that they can recommend to us and tell us about. Feel free to call us up and let us know about that. But yeah, I think it makes sense. All right. Well, hey, look, speak of the devil and he should appear. Our good friend Fred from Rhode Island just popped into the old radio program. Let's go see what he's got going on here this morning. Hey, Fred, how you doing? Is it raining drones where you're at, or what's going on?
I haven't heard of any drones in Rhode Island. We've had them next door as far as north as Connecticut. I guess they have a problem over there. And Blumenthal, of all people, the senator, anti-gun senator.
Oh, Senator.
He's the one that come out and says, first thing we should do is be shooting them down.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is this is our friend Senator Dick Blumenthal, who is one of the most anti-gun senators from Connecticut. And I saw that he's like, oh, we should shoot these down. Wait, I thought that you wait.
To talk about, the ultimate irony. I mean, well, I guess that should give you a pretty good idea where these people, where their heads are at.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable. So as far as the drones go, I don't know. Who knows what's going on there? I think they should try to either capture and, like they say, maybe knock one or two of them out of the sky, and then try to analyze, where it came from, who owns it. I mean, they got serial numbers and manufacturer's numbers, so they can backtrack, where, who made it. Then they can backtrack, who bought it and who's using it.
Right. Well, that's exactly it. I would like to know more about, where they're coming from. And again, there's just a lot of mystery around it. It's like, who's doing it and I have no idea what's going on with it. I really haven't been following it. I just kind of watching the headlines on it. And I don't know, but it's definitely making people nervous. That's for sure.
Well, once again, the media likes to step in there and spin things up like they do with the gun control thing. They sit there, and the more they talk about it, more people pay attention to it, and the more people pay attention to it, the more copycat aspects come into play. I think a lot of people who own drones, now they're out there flying them around to be part of the crowd, just be part of the, like I said, the copycat crowd.
Right. Well,
I think so. I mean, and the more they talk about it, the more drones you're going to see out there flying. Everybody's got a drone going to be out flying them around the neighborhood.
Right. I know. Somebody be
a real pain in the what.
Yeah. Somebody just said now they're seeing drones in San Diego too. I mean, there just may be drone sightings everywhere. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how? I mean, first of all, it's kind of hard to see a drone. They must be, if they're starting to see them, there must be quite a few of them. And yeah, the question is
Well, at night, I think they're required by the Federal Aviation Administration. I think there is a regulation in there that says they have to be lighted at night, especially at night. They can't just be flying around in the dark, because that creates a huge hazard to air travel and everything else. And they've had problems in the past with people flying drones around airports, and every once in a while, one of them gets caught.
Well, and again, somebody else, and I just saw this, a couple people in the chat room saying that these things are 6 feet in diameter. So they're not little tiny drones.
That's not your average. That's not your average store-bought.
That's not your average drone that you went down to Best Buy and picked up, right? I mean, these are pretty good size units.
No.
Yeah, I think
not at that size.
It definitely leaves some questions. It definitely leads some questions. We'll see what happens with that. But what else is on your mind today, Fred? What other things have you been thinking about? Are you happy about the NRA victory, or are you ambivalent? Where are you at?
I think it's a good recovery to the road back. I think for the NRA, it really is. Because they are a respected organization. They've had their problems in the past. And, nothing's perfect, but then again, what the hell is perfect in this world? I wouldn't have perfect if I stepped in it. I'm sure a lot of other people wouldn't either. However, I think it's a good step that they're still solvent. They can make their way back and become a major player in the gun control, against the gun control movement. Speaking of gun control movement over here in Rhode Island, the new thing over here with the local dummies in the legislature over here, they're coming up with this thing about law enforcement, selling their guns to unscrupulous dealers. Now, think about what an unscrupulous dealer is.
Well, wait a second. Law enforcement? You mean law enforcement?
Guns out of the trunk of their car at midnight.
Yeah, I mean, first
they're talking about legislation in that regard. So I think they're trying to kind of find another soft spot in the wall.
Wait a second, Fred.
Legislation.
Isn't it already illegal?
Because it doesn't really. I mean, it's not what you call a massive problem to begin with.
Right.
But they're just kind of like finding anything that's going to stick on the wall and they throw something against it.
Right, but wait a second, Fred. Isn't it already illegal for the police to just sell guns out of the trunks of their car, whether they're selling them to unscrupulous dealers or not? Isn't that already illegal? And aren't the police the only ones who can be trusted,
absolutely
right?
It's illegal. You're not supposed to be selling firearms out of the trunk of their car. I mean, you have the aspect of selling a firearm to someone who as a relative or a close associate, that that they're not a bad person, that they do not have a felony record. No, they're law abiding. You have that option to do that, but like I mentioned before, a background check wouldn't hurt from two aspects. One, it gets the gun out of your name, and two, it puts the gun in their name. So if something happens to it later on, say, well, hey, we took reasonable precaution to assure that it's not going to wind up in the wrong hands, unless of course it was stolen or something like that happens. But as far as like actual legal transfer goes, I look at it as kind of like a safeguard. Whether or not it's constitutional or mandatory, I think it's optional. But I think it's what do they call it? Precaution is on the side of the leery.
Right. All right. Well, Fred, I appreciate you calling in. Any other thoughts before I let you go for today, this Firearms Friday?
No, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for now. Well, you have a good week, Mike. Merry Christmas and happy holidays and all that.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas to you, Fred. If we don't talk again next week, thanks for coming on board. And as always, it's good to chat with you. Thanks for calling in on this beautiful Firearms Friday. That's Fred out in Rhode Island. Our weekly call. I think he's not the farthest that we've ever had a call. We got a call from a listener in Australia one time. We've also had guests from Australia, but from a listener in Australia. Didn't we had one from somewhere else too? Somebody was listening on the internet and they got the phone call. Maybe I think Australia is still the farthest that we've ever received a phone call. But hey, that's what we're all about here. That's what we're all about here, is answering questions and talking about gun stuff and do all that kind of stuff. Anyway, yeah, talking about what Fred was just talking about, trying to, police officers selling to nefarious dealers. And I'm just like, how is one more law going to change that? I mean, you know what you need to do? You need to punish the people who break the law. How is one more law going to fix it? And quite honestly, this is why we don't want to hear about new gun laws. This is one of the reasons. And we'll get into this on the other side. We got hour 2 coming up, dead ahead. And we'll talk about why we don't want to hear about new gun laws. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Back with more after this. Brian says, hey, a cop picks up a gun in a bust and then needs a few bucks for Christmas. You can see the temptation. Well, sure. I mean, I may need a few bucks for something, and it doesn't make me, doesn't mean that I'm going to go in and knock over a 7-Eleven, right? Or a bank. I mean, that just, that's crazy. Wow. I'm going back here and talking about what you guys have. Drones the size of cars. I don't know. I didn't hear that. I guess I missed that. David Nelson says the government says there are no drones. Drones the size of SUVs. Well, it's a lot. That's a lot. WK Sears over on Rumble says, wow, a local drone club will get the world talking. I mean, is that what it is? I just, again, I haven't even been paying that close of attention other than seeing the headlines on it. I'm kind of ambivalent to it at this point. Amy says UFO drones. I mean, maybe they finally feel like they could come out and they don't have to hide under the covers anymore. Is that they are among us? They're among us. KC-135s will now be part of our military family up here in the North Pole of America. Well, they've been up there for years. KC-135s have been up there for years. I flew in one back in the day for a junket that they took us on to Guam. We went to Guam. There's a bunch of media folks and politicians. I was the media folk that went to Guam when the Air Guard was deployed to Guam, and we flew in KC-135s. They've been up there for a long time. Many department auctions confiscated guns. It does generate funds for smaller departments. Well, yeah, I mean, I can understand that. If you're auctioning guns, that's one thing, but it made it sound like they were selling them out of the trunk of their car to some unscrupulous dealer. I mean, there's some stuff out there. WK Sears says you can buy drones that cost upwards of $170,000. Oh, I'm sure. I mean, have you seen the Reaper drone? That's probably a few more than $170,000, right? But yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, the trip to Guam was cool. And I discovered that I am not nearly as bulletproof as I thought I was. I'd never really sunburned before. I mean, I'd lived in Hawaii for a year and a half. Never got sunburned. Never, really never. And then I went to Guam and I was like, oh yeah, no problem. We were outside. They took us down to the beach at one point. I walked in the ocean for a few minutes, and everything. Man, I came back. I was so burned. I started shedding like a snake. I was sick. We were only there for 3 days. And when we flew back, I was so sick on the plane. I was so sick. I was sun sick, and I got home and I just crashed and I just shed my skin like a snake. It's the first time I've ever really been that badly sunburned. It was amazing. 4 new KC-135 tankers going to Eielson. Okay. All right. There you go. They'll be active duty, not maintained by the Guard. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. There you go. Chris says we built a KC-135 hangar at Eielson in the middle 90s. Yeah. I think that's about when I went. I think it was the mid to late 90s is when I went to Guam, if I remember correctly. Jeannie said drones that big, like the 6-foot variety, are Google, Amazon, or UPS. Is that it? Is somebody just getting a Prime package? Is that what's going on? Somebody's just getting a Prime package and nobody bothered to tell anybody? Just getting a Prime package. Don't worry about it. What are all those? It's just Prime Day. That's all it is. It's just Prime Day. That's all. I mean, it looks like a swarm of locusts, but they had a good deal on something down at the Amazon. Oh man. All right. You guys ready for Christmas yet? I mean, I'm not. I am and I'm not. I'm trying to get it. Yesterday, my wife and kids did yeoman's work. They unpacked a bunch of stuff and got a bunch of Christmas decorations up. Which is, I mean, this house was like packed with just boxes, and we've been hauling stuff and unpacking and taking stuff to the dump and giving stuff away and put stuff in storage. But I came home last night. I've been over at the station for a few hours, and I came back and it was Christmas lights and some garland and some decorations and wreaths on the door. And it was just, that felt good. That felt good. Good stuff. Yeah. Anthony said he did a training exercise back in 98 in Guam with the Army. We were jungle warfare training on an island named Tinian. I know about Tinian, where the nukes used to bomb Japan in World War II were loaded and flown off. Just a dusty runway with a little wooden sign and a plaque. Wow, that's a piece of history right there. All right, we got to go. We're going to be back. Hour 2 dead ahead. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Duke Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Take my rifle, this is my gun. This is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature. Thank you for coming on board and joining us. It is that beautiful Friday. If you're just joining us, some big headlines for winter weather advisories up in the north there in Fairbanks. They've got a winter storm warning going on. You're getting up to an additional 5 inches of snow sometime this morning. It should taper off before this afternoon until 9 p.m. tonight is what they're saying right now. 5 more inches. And that has led to the closure of the Fairbanks school district. The Fairbanks schools right now are closed due to the fact that the bus drivers had a higher than expected number of call-outs. And so they weren't able to provide buses this morning. So school is closed today in Fairbanks. If you're down on the Kenai Peninsula and you are living south of Ninilchik, the KPB school buses are running about 2 hours late. And so it's a slow time today. We got we got a lot of snow. We probably got 14 to 18 inches of snow since yesterday morning up on the hill here. We're up on top of the world for real outside of Homer. And it literally, when I got up yesterday morning with the dog, there was about an inch of snow. And we've already shoveled twice, and I got up again this morning and there's another 6 or 7 inches of snow. I mean, it's madness out there. So white Christmas, whoever was dreaming of it, that's a good thing. It's a white Christmas, that's for sure. But the winter storm advisory is also, by the way, for winter weather advisory for the Kenai. They say we're going to get another another 3 inches until 9 a.m. this morning. So the snow is supposed to taper off this morning. Please, Lord, hear my prayer. Please let the snow taper off this morning. That's all I'm asking. It's got, at least it's not 30 below, right? At least it's not 30 below today. It's supposed to be 28 degrees tomorrow and Sunday, with a little bit more of a chance of snow. And then it's supposed to get up into the 40s next week again. I just, whatever you guys decide, I'm okay. Whatever you decide. All right, but it is Firearms Friday. Let's get back to what we were talking about, which is why we don't want to hear about gun control laws, right? Why do we not want to hear about gun control laws? Well, there's a couple reasons. I mean, first and foremost, shall not be infringed. I'm just saying it is in there, and while there arguably, could be some health and safety reasons why some of that stuff might, the bottom line is that, hey guys, we need, hey guys, it shall not be infringed. And we've got 20,000 regulations on the books in U.S. Code Section 922. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. And so we got thousands and thousands of different regulations that affect guns already. We really don't need one more. But that's the reoccurring theme in the country, right? Something bad happens, something happens, and people feel like we've got to do something. And so instead of looking at the law because every time somebody does something, somebody broke the law, right? I mean, this latest debacle in New York City with the United Healthcare guy, it's already illegal to kill people. It's already illegal to have a suppressor in New York. It's already illegal. There were so many laws that were broken, but what we need to do is we need to do something. But even in places that it just doesn't matter. The National Shooting Sports Foundation put out a little blurb here recently, talking about the battle against gun control activists who proclaim ad nauseum that more Second Amendment restrictions on law-abiding Americans is the only answer to combating crime. Never ceases. This is despite the fact, played out repeatedly in the real world, that criminals don't follow the law. The Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, that's a mouthful, ranks Washington state among the top 10 states with the safest gun control laws in the country. They say safest, but what they mean is most restrictive. It garnered that distinction after recently enacting even more gun control laws, and Washington Governor Jay Inslee has never seen a gun control policy he didn't crave. Being such a strict gun control state, it's mind-boggling what a federal judge did after a recent particularly egregious case involving an illegal straw purchaser of guns. Local media reported that Dion Cooper of Kent, Washington, pled guilty to multiple federal firearms charges, including trafficking in firearms, making a false statement in connection with the acquisition of firearms, and straw purchases. But this just wasn't a one-time straw purchaser. In fact, Cooper didn't illegally straw purchase a dozen firearms. Cooper, between 2021 and 2023, illegally straw purchased more than 130 firearms and then provided those firearms to convicted felons or juveniles who couldn't legally purchase or possess the firearms on their own. So this just wasn't a little, oopsie, right? It was 133. You know how much time he got in jail? You know how much time? First of all, it's surprising that they even prosecuted him because they find that the prosecution rate for straw purchasers is down in the single digits, percentage-wise. So first of all, it's surprising that they even prosecuted him. But in Washington state, the safest state in the nation for gun control, you know what they gave him? 3 years. And that's it. 3 years, probably with some time served. He'll get out under supervision, won't be able to buy any more guns, which I guess is in that regard. But you got to think about it. Each count, each one of those transactions, each one of those 133 separate instances is a felony in and of itself. So he got 3 years for 133 felonies. Again, Washington state, one of the most anti-gun states in the country. That's just, they see a problem, but they didn't want to penalize it. They didn't want to treat the problem. They want to treat the tool. They don't want to treat they want to treat the tool. And this goes back again to why we don't want to hear anymore about more gun control. There are tons. You are basically penalizing all law-abiding citizens for the actions of a very, very few. And on top of that, you're not even really punishing the few who are breaking the law. It's like you give them a pass for it. And instead crack down more on law-abiding citizens. And again, I often use the substitution game. I'm like, right, what if this was the we're talking about the First Amendment instead of the Second Amendment? You wouldn't stand for that. Tom Knighton had another article over at Bearing Arms that was talking about this. And he said, while it's, the Second Amendment is being treated as a second-class right, and that's definitely true. But he also said, what if we treated it like the First Amendment? And he goes on to talk about this piece in Newsweek. There's a piece in Newsweek this week that talked about they got a consensus on ghost guns, but they asked only anti-gunners about ghost guns. They didn't ask any of the pro-gun side. And Tom Knighton highlights the response from Amy Cooter, who is the Director of Research, Academic Development, and Innovation at the Center on Terrorism, Extremism, and Counterterrorism at the Middlebury Institute. Okay. So she was asked a question about ghost guns and should they be banned. And she said ghost guns should almost certainly be banned, but there's an enormous practical difficulty in making that happen, such that any regulation would likely merely add time to sentences for already committed or separate criminal actions. Regulations would also have some immediate pushback from certain militia world groups who see ghost guns as a way to escape tyrannical control. Okay, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the with the falsification and the shaming people and don't say anything, because if you push back against this, you immediately must be part of a certain militia group, right? That's what she's saying. Only people who are in certain world militia groups would be against this, is essentially what she's saying there. But when asked about the United Healthcare shooters, he apparently is a huge fan of the Unabombers manifesto, right? That was one of the things that they read it in his book club, and that really sent him on the path to doing what he did, apparently. So when she was then asked about the Unabomber manifesto and whether or not that should be banned, well, she takes a totally separate answer from the Second Amendment to the First Amendment. She said the Unabomber manifesto is already out in the world in such a way it would be incredibly difficult to ban it. Well, the same thing with ghost guns. Same thing with 3D printing. Same thing. It's already out in the world. She says we've also traditionally seen such things as protected to some extent under the First Amendment. Also, same thing with the Second Amendment with ghost gun manufacturing. That's been hundreds of years of tradition. And there seems to be little political will to reevaluate that position as long as very direct incitements to violence are not present. Well, thank God for that. However, law enforcement have moved to more recent incidents of trying to prevent manifestos from being spread publicly and thus inspiring other actors. Oh, so she's for government-sponsored censorship. She's okay. Government-sponsored censorship. She's okay. Generally a good move as long as researchers who are best equipped to help evaluate the nuance in those documents are not cut out of the loop. Oh, so the only ones. So as long as you've got experts, forget about freedom of speech, forget about freedom of information. As long as the government has chosen experts. You seeing my point here? Are you seeing my point here? But again, are you ever wondering why we don't want to do this? And why, again, they're punishing everybody? I mean, in a First Amendment world, if I say something libelous against somebody, I could pay the price, right? I could be sued for libel, slander, whichever one it is, the speech, libel or slander. I could be on the hook for each. You wouldn't be penalized for it. You individually wouldn't be penalized for it. But if somebody goes out and uses a gun, now everybody's got to pay because, my gosh, that could happen again. It's the disconnect on the, and again, trying to use that substitution game. Just try and substitute some of the challenges and some of the legal wrangling that they're doing against the Second Amendment. Just think about how that would play out in your head right now. Just think about how that would play out if we were talking about the First Amendment. How would that work out? One person says something hateful on Facebook and they ban everybody or require everybody to have a 3-day waiting period on posts because somebody might be hurt or offended. Or you have to register to get on Facebook and go through a background check. Or you see where this is going? All right. We got one more segment dead ahead. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Ooh, I worked up a little bit of a head of steam on that one. Worked up a little bit of a head of steam. Okay. What, in everyone's opinion, is the best pistol for self-defense? Oh, Miguel, them's fighting words. Them's fighting words. I mean, there is, I mean, I have to argue that there may be no best pistol for self-defense. The one you brung is the best pistol for self-defense, I think, in a lot of ways. The one you practice with. The one that, you know, fits your hand and you've got experience with. That's, you know, that's the thing. I have more than a foot and a half. I have a foot of snow and another half foot on Chena Hot Springs Road. Your posts aren't double posting for us, Jim. Jim says, I don't know why my posts are double posting. I don't see them anyway. So, you know, let's see. Bite your tongue. I don't know what I said to Bill, but Bill's like, bite your tongue. I don't know. It's kind of crazy out there. It's always a white Christmas in Fairbanks. Yeah. I mean, Fairbanks is always snow. I can't remember ever it being. I remember one Thanksgiving it got a little, well, it was still snowy. But yeah. News. Miguel says, quite ridiculous. Those that want more gun control are the same people that now have a security detail fully armed. I mean, yeah, right. What's good for me is not good for thee, kind of thing, right? That is what it is. Rick just said on the drone thing, news now 8 feet wingspan, and when they send up a drone to get photos, they go dark. Still haven't shot any down. I don't know. Don't know. Oh, just got the news that school front Ninilchik South is now canceled. Thanks, Bill. I'll put that out there. Yeah. He's got now Miguel's got to go outside to go plowing. Time to get my plowing done. We've gotten way more than a foot of snow and more to come. Yeah. Well, yours is supposed to quit by 9 p.m. tonight. That's the good news. Mine's supposed to quit by 9 a.m. today. Oh, you can only hope. Jeannie said he read the Unabomber, but not the Anarchist Cookbook. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I'm going through here. Yeah. It's like your brother steals the cookies off the counter and all the lids get punished. Oh, man. The best pistol for self-defense is the one you have on your person. I mean, that's what I've said for years, right? It's the one that you brung. That's the best pistol for self-defense. Okay, I guess I'm all caught up here this morning, guys. I guess I'm all caught up to get going. WK says, I wish Kasilof would get snow. Well, I mean, I'll try and send you some of mine. I'll send snow-related thoughts your way. How about that? Bill, you got power back yet? Are you still without power up there? Kind of crazy. Crazy. All right. Let's get going on. Where are we here? We're 35 seconds out, so it's about to ding. Oh, we didn't get to the Supreme Court thing. I got talking about something else, and we didn't get to the Supreme Court thing, which I suppose we could. I also want to talk about Cody Wilson and the reset trigger ban, the forced reset trigger. What do you guys want to talk about? Forced reset trigger, Cody Wilson, or the Supreme Court? You guys tell me in the chat room. I'll let you direct me here. I got about I got about 10 minutes or so. So you guys tell me where you want to go. Here we go. Jumping back into it. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. Let's get to it.
What the hell is an assault weapon?
You know, if we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Yepper, one final segment before we run into our weekend entertainment review with Willie Waffle. Oh, on Monday, I meant to tell you this earlier, but on Monday, we've got a twofer. In hour one, Representative Kevin McCabe is going to be joining us, and in hour two, Representative Justin Ruffridge will be joining us. So it'll be a twofer. It should be exciting. I think it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes. That's all again coming up on Monday on the big radio show. Well, the chat room has spoken. I asked them what story they wanted me to cover next, and they went against my wishes, and they are now talking about the Supreme Court. So they want to talk about the Supreme Court. So it was kind of a good news, bad news situation this week in the Supreme Court. If we start with the good news, there's actually some really good news. The Supreme Court has set an official conference date of today to decide if the High Court will hear Snope v. Brown, which is a case directly challenging Maryland's assault weapons ban and addressing whether states can legally ban semi-automatic rifles such as the AR-15, commonly owned and used by law-abiding citizens. While some say this case, according to the Truth About Guns, while some say this case has the potential to redefine the future of firearms legislation across the nation, the fact that arguments are so deeply rooted in precedent set by earlier landmark decisions like Heller and Brune makes one wonder, why haven't we been here before? It's been over a decade and a half since Heller affirmed that firearms in common use for lawful purposes can't be banned. A principle further solidified just 2 years ago when Brune held that firearms laws must be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearms regulation, rejecting the use of means-ends testing by future courts when evaluating firearms restrictions. Those precedents are central and one could say redundant to the arguments outlined in Snope v. Brown. However, that has not stopped states like Maryland from enacting laws that fly in the face of those previous rulings. So it's good news. They're going to start taking it up today. It looks like they may actually take it up. It's good. I guess it's good-ish news. Good news. On the not so good side, the Supreme Court declined to intervene or overturn a Hawaii State Supreme Court decision that allowed the state to prosecute a man carrying a loaded pistol without a license. Now, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito criticized the Hawaii court's ruling, but they supported the Supreme Court's move on technical grounds. The reason Thomas wrote that the court should hear, the reason they did, it said Thomas, was that they wrote that the court should hear an appropriate case to make clear that Americans are always free to invoke the Second Amendment as a defense against unconstitutional firearms licensing schemes. So I think he saw this case as being too weak to be able to invoke all that. Thomas, writing on Monday, said, had the Hawaii Supreme Court followed its duty to consider the merits of Wilson's defense, that was the guy who got busted, the licensing scheme's unconstitutionality should have been apparent. He noted that Wilson could ask the Supreme Court to view the case again, which was also a view echoed by Justice Neil Gorsuch. So maybe it will come back again. The problem is that Hawaii's licensing thing is a hot mess. It's really problematic. And rather than try and make a case that, no, it really wasn't, the judges there simply pretended, the judges in Hawaii just pretended it didn't matter because their state's history is somehow completely different from the rest of the nation. So anyway, the good news is that Thomas and Alito and Gorsuch, I think, are all looking for a case that can show that they could take a stand on this. And I think that it is, it's bad news, but it's, I think they're looking for a better case in that regard. So that's the news out of the Supreme Court for gun stuff this week. Hey, look, I still got a little time. You remember Cody Wilson? Cody Wilson, the maker of the Liberator pistol. He was the entrepreneur, the libertarian, kind of warrior who went out there and created the Liberator 3D printed pistol and got them, picked up and he's a freedom fighter. Cody Wilson is. And of course, right now, 3D printed guns are a big topic and everything else. And that's probably where you recognize the name from. Of course, he also created a 3D desktop milling machine that can create steel framed handguns. That's called the Ghost Gunner. But now he has a new venture, and the new venture is called a Coast Runner. And it's just a desktop CNC machine. It's not built specifically it's not there for building guns. It's a desktop CNC. So that machinists or people or builders or makers can do, make bits and bobs and pieces and do whatever they want. Well, Cody Wilson is now suing Kickstarter and Indiegogo, accusing them of choking off funding for his desktop milling machine that can be used to manufacture pretty much anything. I mean, technically, it could be used to manufacture ghost guns, but the Ghost Gunner was built specifically for that, right? But this one is just kind of like anything. It can build anything. Wilson's company, Coast Gunner Inc., sued the crowdsourcing sites on Monday in federal court in Midland, Texas, alleging they illegally dropped promotional campaigns for his company's milling machines due to Wilson's political views. Coast Runner, represented by former Texas State Solicitor General Judd Stone, said Kickstarter and Indiegogo violated U.S. and Texas anti-trade laws by conspiring to deny the company access to the marketplace and to free trade. The complaint also alleged interference with the company's contracts. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and LaunchBoom, a crowdfunding consulting firm that is also named as a defendant, did not immediately respond for requests to comment. That is from Reuters. Now, again, regardless of whether you like it, I mean, if you go on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, there's all kinds of projects out there. From 3D printing projects to, again, CNC stuff, knife kits. I mean, there's stuff out there. There's no gun kits, but I mean, there's all kinds of things. And what's interesting is he may have a case. And knowing Cody Wilson, and I've met him and talked to him several times, and kind of have a little bit of insight into how he thinks, as far as because of my conversations with him, he may have done this on purpose. I mean, he may have said, let's form a new company that has nothing to do with guns. We're just going to build a desktop CNC machine that can make anything, has nothing to do with guns, and we're going to try and get it launched, and they will come back at me, and then we'll have a court case. I mean, he's that aggressive. He is that aggressive. But it will be interesting to see what the courts decide on this. I mean, Kickstarter and Indiegogo are private companies, right? So, but if they can get them to on the antitrust thing, because they are the big ones, I guess it's GoFundMe, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. Those are really the big ones. If they can get them on those things, there might be something else that is going on there for sure. And finally, I got less than 2 minutes here. The ATF might not enjoy the Fifth Circuit's new decision that's coming out. They haven't decided yet, but in arguments on Monday, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals seemed to side with gun rights groups in their lawsuit against the ATF, who are trying to reclassify forced reset triggers as illegal machine guns, which never made sense to me, because a forced reset trigger, which it forces you to reset. You have to reset, meaning you have to pull the trigger each time. You forces you to let go, and it's a forced reset trigger. Which I could never understand. How are they going to classify that as a machine gun? Well, the bottom line is the crucial. They keep going back to the bump stocks and everything else. Well, the judge in the case, after hearing everything that the government had to say on this, turned around and said, "It seems to me like you're trying to get us not to focus on the trigger." Obviously, that's part of the statute. Single function of the trigger. That's bad for the ATF because they've been trying to dance around that, because that's where the definition says single function of the trigger. That's what defines a machine gun if it does it with less than one pull of the trigger. Well, we'll see what happens with that. All right, we got to go. Willie Waffle up next, The Michael Duke Show.
Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Yeah. I mean, the Justice Department attorney argued before a 3-judge panel Monday, said that the Texas federal court incorrectly ruled in July that the ATF had exceeded its authority in the Cargill case, which is the one on bump stocks. He argued the Supreme Court's reasoning in Cargill was specific to bump stocks, while forced reset triggers operate in a different manner that makes them legally machine guns. The National Firearms Act defines machine guns as a firearms that fire, quote, automatically more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger, as well as parts designed to convert a weapon into a machine gun. The attorney for the Justice Department went on to say the crucial distinction for these purposes between a non-mechanical bump stock, the devices the court actually opined on, and the specific devices at issue here is that these devices don't have a disconnector. They don't have that component that forces physically a need to release and then re-engage the trigger for every shot. However, the U.S. District Judge Leslie Southwick seems skeptical of this remark and this argument. Said, it seems to me you're trying to get us not to focus on the trigger. And obviously that's the part of the statute that, yeah, it's single function trigger. I don't know why I went to the old timey, Henry Weinhardt's wine cooler voice, but obviously that's part of the statute. But that's what it is. So anyway, it's good news. It's good. I love to see them losing in court. I love to see them, getting beat up around the head and shoulders on this kind of stuff, because they have gone past their statutory authority. It's happened over and over and over again. All right. Let me get caught up here in the chat room here before let me make sure my phone is set up for Willie. I got to do this here. And I got to do this. Got to do this as well. Oh, hey, mood lighting. All right. I think we're all good. I think we are all good here. Random question. Where do binary trigger mechanisms fall in the grand scheme of law? Been interested in putting one in my AR, but I'm uneducated as to the legality. I don't know where they fall. I don't know where they fall right now. Maybe somebody else. I haven't been paying attention to it, quite honestly. I don't know where they fall in the grand scheme of the law. I know there was some question back when they were talking about bump stocks as to whether binary triggers would be affected, but I don't have any, and so I wasn't really paying that close of attention to it. We'll have to see here. We'll see here and see where it goes. But I don't know. Maybe somebody else, Tony, in the chat room can give you that answer. Let me let's see if we can crowdsource the answer here for you. And maybe somebody else out there knows. All right, so you guys got all your Supreme Court news, and then you dried up and stopped talking. What's going on out there? What else you guys doing on? Coast Runner. Oh, Brian's out there surfing. Brian's out there surfing the internet about Cody Wilson's new toy. Does it look good? Does it look like it's going to be money? I mean, I'm interested to hear. I'm interested to hear. All right. Where are we at here? Oh, we're 90 seconds out. We're good. I'm sorry. My phone keeps binging and dinging, and Willie's going to be joining us, and we're going to be doing all this stuff. We'll see where we go from here. All right. I guess that's it. Don't forget, Monday, we're going to be talking with Kevin McCabe and Justin Ruffridge. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm just going to say that for nothing. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation, to say the least, because we might get a little bit of behind the scenes baseball on how some of the caucus stuff shook out. I mean, not like details of what people said or anything, but just kind of the mechanism. I'm always curious about that. How does that work? How does the give and take work? How does the back and forth work? I'd like to know that. So should be interesting to see here in the near future. Brian says he looked at the Coast Runner. He goes, I don't know. I'm looking for retirement projects that will keep me out of bars. Well, I mean, yeah, you get a 3D printer, or you get a desktop CNC, you will definitely not have a problem staying busy. There's plenty of stuff out there to do. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Willie's on. Let's do it. Did I say 20? I meant 10. Hey, how you guys doing? You ready for the weekend? I got so much work to do this weekend, guys. So much work. I don't want to do any of it, but I have to. I have to do it. All right, that's okay. We'll continue on. Monday's a new day. Let's get on with it, though. Willie Waffle from wafflemovies.com comes in, and he gives us our weekend movie review. Hello, my friend. How you doing?
I'm feeling great, baby. I'm I know. I'm playing hurt for the team. Okay,
I know.
Let's just be honest.
He sounds like somebody been beating his nose to death, but it's okay. He's here and he made it, and he said today's the first day he got his voice back. So I mean, I'm feeling pretty lucky.
I was in shock. Yeah. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm able to do the show. I mean, like literally, I was like a squeaky Mickey Mouse for a week. I could barely do anything. I just, well, but I looked in the mirror. I looked in the mirror this morning. I said, I can't let Mike down.
Oh,
I can't let the team down.
Can't let him down.
I can't let down the people.
I'm going to play injured just for this week. All right. Well, we'll let you go on that. All right. What do we got here? We got a couple stories, not a whole lot. I guess we could start with the Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro move. Get ready to meet the parents. Again, that still has one of the most classic lines in it ever, about milking an almond or something. And I mean, there's just some crazy.
Oh, it wasn't an almond, my friend.
I know. It was. I know. Meet the Parents is a classic, but apparently they're doing, and they did what, 2 and 3. I only ever saw 1, but they've done 3. Now they're coming back yet again.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, in the year 2024 and 2025, and the last 5 to 6 years before this, if it was famous once, we will make it again. We will have another sequel. We will find a way to cash in that check, baby. And that's what they're trying to do here. Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro are officially in talks to return in a sequel to Meet the Parents. Like you said, 4th one. They don't have a plot yet. Just come on, plot's not important.
What's a plot?
Okay, we don't have a director yet. Not important. Don't have a script yet. Not important. We know we can make a sequel that somebody is going to spend money to
Right.
go see.
Right.
And so that's what they're going to do. They're even going to bring back Terry Polo and Bly Danner.
Okay. All right. Well,
So they got the money, baby. They got money to spread
I guess.
around.
New ideas. I'm just saying, maybe new ideas would be.
New ideas are a risk.
Yeah.
New ideas are a risk. You might spend a lot of money and nobody go see the movie. And that's why they do all these sequels.
I guess.
Because they got a built-in audience,
Yeah.
man.
All right. So I guess we'll see when that's. I'm sure that's 2 years away.
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move over to one that I care about more, and that is Chris Evans, Captain America, is going to appear in Avengers Doomsday, but he may not be playing Cap. What?
Yeah, this is really interesting. You know, they seem to have something up their sleeves for this Avengers Doomsday. You know, this is essentially the Fantastic Four, and you know, we've already seen that they're willing to play with the Avengers universe by bringing in one Robert Downey Jr. to play Dr. Von Doom. And so now they're talking about Chris Evans showing up. And like you said, well, is he going to be Captain America? Because last time we saw Captain America, he was like 80 years old
right,
and happy in retirement and living with his dream woman.
Yeah.
And well, he didn't get younger since that happened. So is he going to be Captain America? Or will he be some other universe? Some other, you know, like Johnny Storm from another universe?
From an alternate universe,
he was Johnny Storm before,
Yeah, no, because he was Johnny Storm. He showed up. There's a cameo in a recent movie, which we will not name, so spoilers. But and he played Johnny Storm before, back in the day. So
back in the day, he was the first Johnny Storm.
Yeah,
back when they tried to make the Fantastic Four work. Well, God, I want to say it was like 2003, 2004, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Well, interesting. I like Chris Evans. I think he's a good actor. I enjoy him. I think he was great as Captain America. And if he wanted to play Johnny Storm or somebody else, I would still go watch it.
Well, I'll tell you what happened here. I'm gonna hypothesize because I like to do that. I think Chris Evans was sitting around and he saw the box office returns on his movie Red One, which was supposed to be the big movie for Christmas, and it bombed. And somebody called him from the studio and said, "Dude, have we got an idea for you?" He said, "Yes." And they go, "We haven't told you the idea yet." He goes, "No, trust me. I need an idea. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm sure he was all over it. All right, so and that's released
May 1st, 2026.
Okay, 18 months from now. All right. Okay, we'll be watching that, and 15 months from now we'll be watching for that. Okay, well, we got some time here, but we do have a bunch of movies. So before Willie dies on us, I'm
okay. I'm okay.
I walked it off. I suppose we should, unless you got something else in the news, I suppose we should move on to the movies.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the only other big thing that came out this week, and this is a really quick story, the Oscars will be streaming live on Hulu when the Oscars happen in March. I think March 2nd, which is a big deal. They've never really kind of went with a streaming service before, and you know, this is going to allow it to be seen live all across the planet. And you know, in their dreams, they think that this will increase the audience to 40 million.
Yeah,
I disagree.
Yeah,
but it might make 30 million again. Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens.
I think the Oscars time has passed, but you and I have had this conversation many times, so we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's break this down. Let's start off with Jamie Foxx, the Netflix special. What happened was, it's Jamie Foxx. Give it to me.
This is actually really good. So this is Jamie Foxx. This is it's billed as a comedy special, but it's really a great monologue. And it is Jamie Foxx sitting down in a theater in Atlanta with a whole crowd of people, finally telling the story of what happened with that medical emergency that he had. Like, you know, why did he disappear from public view? What really happened? How sick was he? And, you know, he tells the story, and it's so emotional. Like you can tell this is a changed guy. He faced his mortality, and he goes into detail. He essentially says, I mean, at this point, it's been broadcast all over the world.
Right.
He had a brain bleed that caused a stroke.
Oh, wow.
And so he had to do a full recovery, and it was not easy. It was extremely challenging. He almost didn't walk again. And so
Wow.
he tells the story of, what happened, what were the first symptoms, what was the recovery like, what was the rehab like, and the emotional part of it all is what's going on in his head, thinking about what is he losing, what is he living for,
Right.
what's really important in life now that you almost died.
Wow.
And he's such a great storyteller.
Right.
And he still throws in a lot of comedy, to kind of lighten the mood. And I think to save himself, because you can see throughout the show, he has to stop. He has to gather his breath because the emotions are so strong within him and
Wow.
still are flowing to this day. And it really is really great. We get to see both of his daughters, and we get to hear, crazy funny stories. And he actually does some very hilarious impressions throughout the show, which I really enjoyed.
All right.
I'm at 3 Waffles. I thought it was very, very good.
Nice. Okay. So Jamie Foxx, what happened was it's a Netflix special, 3 Waffles. Also on Netflix is the Angelina Jolie biopic of the opera singer Maria Callas, called Maria.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, Netflix is practically putting out everything this week. Like there's like 3 other things I can think of right now that we could have talked about as well. But I was trying to stick to movies because we kind of talk about movies a lot here.
Right.
But they've got this new show with Lisa Kudrow and Ray Romano called Good Deeds, which is about this couple in Los Angeles trying to sell their house. They've got this new movie, Carry On, which is with Jason Bateman as an evil terrorist who's trying to blackmail a TSA agent into putting a package onto a plane on Christmas Eve. And those are really good. And then there's Maria. Oh, God, then there's Maria.
Uh-oh.
How do I put this nicely? How do I say? I almost fell asleep.
Oh, wow.
I almost fell asleep.
Because this is like this is the big Oscar movie, right? I mean, this is the big movie that they're trying to get the Oscar for.
Yeah, and I think Angelina Jolie shows she's a great actress in this movie. But this is a performance looking for a movie because she's great. She's great as this angry woman, this scared woman, this woman who's strung out on drugs and hallucinating and reliving her life and the moments throughout her life. But the problem is the storytelling is so bad that unless you actually know the life of Maria Callas, a lot of it just falls flat. It doesn't have any emotional impact. You're not even you can't even tell why it's even important that she's remembering a lot of these moments and remembering these scenes. So that really takes away from the movie. It just drags and drags and drags. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And for her alone, I'm giving it 1 waffle.
Wow. One. Okay. That hurts. That leaves a mark. That's going to leave a mark, especially since there's so many. I know, like I said, there's Oscar hopes riding on this. So,
oh, tons.
Yeah.
And I'll speak to that. Listen, I mean, for people who don't know, I vote in the Critics' Choice Awards, and you may have seen that. The nominations for the show came out this week, and then we'll have the show on E! Entertainment in January. And what happens is I have been inundated with the movie on DVD, a streaming version of the movie, tchotchkes to remind me that the movie is coming out, statements from Angelina Jolie about how proud she is of the movie, all the for your consideration stuff that comes out, all those ads. I get them emailed to me when they're also showing up in Variety and places like that. They are fighting tooth and nail to get her that Oscar nomination.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. All right. Well, let's move over to, we got about 2 minutes here, 2.5 minutes. Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. It's an animated Lord of the Rings film. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, a very cool animation. It's truly inspired from Japanese animation. Matter of fact, the director, whose name I'm blanking on, I'm very ashamed of that because he's a very well known Japanese animation director, and it's a prequel to all the other Lord of the Rings stories. It's supposed to be 183 years before the events of The Hobbit, and it's kind of a typical story, right? Two kingdoms might join by one kingdom's daughter marrying the other kingdom's son, but in this case, the daughter says, "I ain't gonna play that," and the war breaks out, and now she may be the only hope for saving her kingdom. And the story, you've been there before, but the animation, I think, is it's stylistic. That's what I really like about it. It kind of looks rough, but it's stylistic. The story, very long, very drawn out, kind of pointless a lot, kind of going through the motions a lot. Some of the action scenes, some of those battle scenes are fantastic. And I think that's kind of what saves the movie. I'm at 2 waffles for Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim.
Okay. I might wait for that one for the stream instead of the theater. That's where it's at right now. Finally, down to the last minute and a half here or so. This is one I kind of been waiting for because I like the actor, Aaron Taylor Johnson. He was in the movie Kick-Ass. He was the main character in that movie. And he's done some other cool stuff. Kraven the Hunter. It's a Marvel movie. Give it to me.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I'm with you. Aaron Taylor Johnson's a very good actor. There's a reason why he has been heavily rumored to be the next James Bond. And this movie alone may destroy that.
Oh, no.
Okay. Can you smell the stinkiness coming from the theater as you're driving by?
Oh, wow.
The truth is, oh, yes, you can. It is a disaster of a movie. He's like, the son of a crime lord in Russia. Ooh, pardon me. And of course, the father's played by Russell Crowe. And there's this whole weird origin story where, like, he's attacked by a lion, and the lion's fluid gets into his bloodstream, and now he's the most amazing hunter ever. And he's got, the ability to hunt down anything, and he's a fighter. He'll maul anything. And the whole time, I'm just like, who cares?
All right, Nick, give me a waffle. Give me a waffle ring here. I'm out of time.
Zero waffle.
Oh my God.
Zero waffle. It's horrifying.
I don't think you've done that in a while. Willie Waffle, we're out of time. We'll see you guys on Monday. Kevin McCabe and Justin Ruffridge. Holy, I had to mute you there for a second because I was literally up against the hard break. Zero waffles.
No,
zero waffles. You were getting a little emotional there. Dang, son, because the trailers look pretty good. I was like, okay, little origin story, little this, little that.
And that's the problem. Right. Oh, it's got Russell Crowe. Well, Russell Crowe's a pretty good actor. Oh, it's got Ariana DeBose. Well, she kind of won an Oscar a couple years ago. She's a pretty good actress, And yeah, it looks like it looks like the action scenes might be kind of cool. It looks like the fight scenes might be kind of cool. And then you get to the dialogue. The dialogue is dreadful. Like, they might as well have made a movie with no dialogue. It might have been better.
Wow. Just wow. Just wow.
Can't take it. I can't take it.
No, zero waffles. All right. Well, I saved the worst for last this time. I was hoping it would be at least a 2, but man, that's brutal. Well, the Marvel, they can't make them. They can't, man. They can't. Their track record is really kind of going in the toilet.
This is the last thing that Sony has that's Marvel property. This is it. Like, this is all they had. I think they made it just to keep it alive and keep the rights going. And ain't nobody going to want to see Kraven the Hunter 2.
Ugh. All right. Well, let's hope that he doesn't lose his James Bondness over this, because I'd heard the same thing, that he might be the next James, and he's got the look. So
absolutely, he's got the skill, he's got the looks. I mean, he could do the physical stuff, he can do the acting.
Yeah,
he would be very, very, very good. But how do I want to put this? Unless this movie makes a lot more money this weekend than I think it will, there will be a taint on him now. And I think it might be difficult for the studio and for the Broccolis to say, yeah, we're going to put all our eggs in that basket.
Oh man.
And that's going to hurt them. I think it's going to hurt them.
I just looked at the Rotten Tomato score, 13%. Okay.
Who gave it a positive rating to get it to 13?
Somebody did. That's
God.
brutal. All right, Willie, next week, what do we got?
Next week we have Mufasa, the story of how the Lion King became the Lion King. And then we're going to have all this stuff. I mean, there's, A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie. We might talk about that.
Okay.
We might talk about some other things coming out at Christmas time. I'll talk to you. We'll figure out what the plan is.
Well, you got to get some sleep first because, man, oof. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, voice is gone.
Yeah, thank you, my
I did
friend.
it for you.
You did it
my
for me.
My last ounce, I gave it to you.
He drug it across the finish line like a dead animal. All right. Well, thank you, Willie. I appreciate it. Folks, we're out of time. We will see you again on Monday. Representatives Kevin McCabe in hour 1, Justin Ruffridge in hour 2. It should be an interesting show. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great day. Weekend.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Welcome.